The large product showcase is for people who have relatively large-scaled products and would like to display them in a manufacturing setting. In this tutorial, we'll go through how to swap your own model and materials, adding some interactions to make the scene more dynamic, changing the pivot point of the model, and lastly, adding a hyperlink to direct people to a desired website. Now we can go ahead and open up the template. The template itself is preloaded with a highly finished background for you to use. The only thing you need to change is to replace the model in the center, which is a placeholder. First, click on the model. This allows you to select the group, and then click again to select the model itself. And then navigate to the first icon in the context menu to swap the item from our local drive. The model I'm going to use is a locker object, so I will just upload my own model here. And you can see it's replaced the previous model. Now I'm going to do some simple transformation to make sure the locker fits well in the environment. The locker looks so far so good. Next, I want to add some material to locker, which is located in the context menu, the last icon here. The materials I have for the locker is a PBR shader, so I will open up the advanced material menu and then add each texture to each individual channel. Now we're done with the model. Next thing I want to do is to add some interactions. The good thing about this template is that it already provides you with some basic behavior system. If we hit play and click on the trigger object here, you can see it triggers some movement behaviors on this placeholder here. What we need to do is to select this button here, go to behaviors, and you can see the logistics that's happening in the behavior chain. So the click trigger, which is referring to this icon here, this model here, has a click trigger, and then after it's clicked, it will trigger the secondary product to move. Now, if we take a look at the locker object that I uploaded and go to the object list, you can see it's made of two components. The first is the locker object itself, and then there's a door object. What I would like to do is when the user clicks on this button here, it opens up the door, and then click again to close the door. We no longer need this movement behavior here. We will go ahead and remove it by dragging it outside of the chain, and then find the rotate behavior and drag it to the door object. Instead of 360 degree, we probably just want to have the door open up to 60 degree. And let's hit play to see it in action. Now we can see that the interaction is not perfect. First, the pivot point for the door is off. It's not attaching to the locker itself, so we need to change that. Second, after the door completes its rotation, it snaps back to the original position in an instant. What we are hoping to do is to have the trigger open up the door and then closing the door. Let's start with the first problem, changing the pivot point. We can go to the setting menu locating in the top right corner here, and then click to modify the pivot point. Now, if we move the transformation gizmo, we are actually changing the pivot point instead of the object position. Something pretty handy to do is that you see all those indicators here. We can click on the indicator to snap the pivot point. This way, we are locating the pivot point to the right side of the bounding box in shape. If we rotate the object again, you can see that its pivot point is correct. Now let's go back to the behavior chain. The whole chain is to only rotating the door 60 degree. It's actually missing the part where it lets the door go back to its original degree. So what we need to do is to fill in the gap by adding another click trigger after the first chain, and then another rotate action to have the door back to 0. Now if we hit play, we can see that the door is no longer snapping, and then if we click the trigger again, the door is going back to its original rotation. We are done with the model and the interaction. We can remove all the extra placeholders and editing the scene description. In addition, this template also provides you with a hyperlink. If we check it out, we can see that it has a click trigger to navigate to our website URL. So what I can do is to copy the website where I got the model from and then paste it here. And finally, let's test it out. Okay, let's click on the button to see if it works. Looks pretty good. And let's check out the link to see if it actually pops up the website. And that's everything for this large product templates.